All right, I told you if you have any questions about body language, just email them to me and I'd answer them. You emailed them to me and I'm going to answer them. The first question is this one. Hi, Scott. You always talk about women's intuition. Can you explain in simple terms that everyone can understand what it is from a neurological perspective, as you always say? Yeah. All right. When it comes to the human brain, men's brains and women's brains are different. There's no question about that. That's science. That's a fact. All right. You can look at a brain and go, oh, that's a female brain or a male brain. They're different. Now, one of the big differences is this. Women's brains collect information differently than men's brains. Okay. Men's brains collect these big groups of information, and women collect the minutiae, the little bitty things when it comes to body language and human behavior. And situationally, they collect all the little stuff. The brain has a spot for pretty much everything, from feelings to memories to creating something. It's able to do everything. It's like a supercomputer. When you see a person or a situation, your brain starts collecting all the information it possibly can about that person and that scene or that situation you're looking at. Squints the eyes, it looks at the nostrils and sees if they're flaring, what's happening on the sides of the mouth, what's going on with the face and the forehead. It collects everything. It sees all the little tiny things and it collects those. Now the mid-temporal gyrus gathers up all the big things, like this basketball going through a hoop, or somebody walking by, or a dog jumping off the couch, the big stuff. As it collects all this stuff, it sends it down to the base of the brain to this thing called the locus ceruleus. Now, the locus ceruleus is about as big as a BB. And when it gets this information, it starts sorting through it and saying, is this something I've seen before? Is this something that's going to hurt me? Is this something that's good for me? It collects all that information and helps you make a decision about what's going on and what you've seen. That's what gives men our gut feeling. And that's why we think we know everything. Then you have the woman's brain. It collects a lot more details than a man's brain. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer for you to sort through that from a subconscious point of view to decide what you're saying or what you've seen or what that situation is or was. Comparatively, men's intuition is really tiny. It's not that powerful. It's good and it works well. Again, we think we know everything, but it's nothing like a woman's intuition, because compared to a woman's intuition, men's gut feeling gets stomped every time. Now think about this if you've ever been in this situation. If you're a woman, let's say your husband, your boyfriend, whoever it is, your person, says, listen, I want to have my friend from high school or the military or from wherever, college, Kevin, come over, right? And I want us to hang out and eat, and, I want you to meet him because he's one of my best friends from back then. Haven't sseen him in years. I want you to meet him, get to know him because he's an important person to me. And you say, of course, yes, that'd be wonderful. Have Kevin, give him a buzz, and I'll cook something, or we'll cook something, and let's do that. I would love to get to know him. Kevin shows up, hugs you. Hey, how's it going? All that, everything goes great. You all eat, talk, and laugh. He tells stories, and you listen to him, and you're like, oh, Kevin, you're so funny. And you look at your husband like, oh, he's so funny. Gosh, he's funny. He's a good guy. And you keep talking, and the evening goes on. Everything looks great. Everything's going the way it should from your husband's perspective, right? Because he likes Kevin. And obviously you like Kevin from the way you're talking and acting, right? The end of the night comes and Kevin's leaving and he gets up and hugs your husband real big, or your guy, your man, whatever it is, your person. He says, okay, man, it's good seeing you. I'll see you later. And he looks at you and goes, oh, hey, come here. And you hug him real big and you're like, listen, I've heard so many good things about you. You were everything I heard you were. I thank you for coming. I so enjoyed this. Kevin goes, oh, thank you. I had the best time. Right? No sooner does that door close on his way out. You turn to your husband and you say, don't you ever, you listen to me, don't you ever let that in here again. I don't want him around me. I don't want him around us. I don't want him around the kids. Nobody. Don't want to see him ever again. Do you understand me? And your husband says, what? Why, what's wrong with Kevin? And you say, I don't know. Something's just not right. And guess what? 99% of the time, you're right. And that's because you've seen Kevin do something that made you uncomfortable. He may have been looking where he shouldn't have. Not necessarily at you, but he may have been looking at something in the room too much as he's talking to you. And you might have asked him an important question. And when you did, his cadence slowed down, got kind of jumpy and jerky like that. Nothing your husband recognized or saw. It may not have been that big a deal. But you start collecting all these things, throws it down to the locus ceruleus, And the next thing you know, you don't like this guy. You don't know what's wrong yet because locus coeruleus hasn't finished sorting all that stuff out, right? So you're in the car or in the shower. You're doing something you do all the time where you don't have to pay attention to everything going on. You're just sort of zoning out. And it hits you. Here's why I don't like Kevin. This is what bothers me about him. I think this. And you're probably right about that. Because it's a lot of things your husband didn't see. So that's woman's intuition from a neurological perspective. That's why it works. That's why it's so powerful. Because women's brains are much more powerful than the know-it-all men's brains. There you have it. All right, next question. Can a person leak deceptive body language during an interrogation but still be innocent of the crime in question? Well, they can't leak deceptive cues if leaking means you don't want them to show and they jump out a little bit. Like when we talk about microexpression. You see that little part of the nose go up like we talked about before, just part of it, or a full flash of anger, something like that really quick, right? So there's nothing to leak if you're innocent, right? But I see what you're saying. I think you mean if you show cues that are thought of to be deceptive, can that still happen when you're being questioned? Yeah, you can do things that person will have the understanding are deceptive cues, but it doesn't mean they're deceptive cues for you and your baseline. See, that's why the baseline is so important. We've talked about that before as well. That's why when you interrogate somebody, you just talk to them for a little while beforehand. Just shoot with them. See what they're like when they're not stressed. And then when you start adding stress, you can look for those cues, right? So don't worry about that. If you're in a situation where somebody's asking you questions and say it's an interrogation or something like that comes up and they start asking you questions, don't worry about that. That's going to go away fairly quickly. Comes a squirrel. Hey, buddy, look at you. Here, I'll give you a peanut. I got some just for you. Come here a minute. Come here, I'll give you this one. There you go. I'm not in my usual peanut giving situation, as you can see. So that's probably why he's not coming over. Okay, next question. When asked a question, why would someone circle their head while answering yes or no? Guess you mean like this? Well, when it comes to head shakes and head nods, you have the confirmation nod and the confirmation shake. Confirmation nod happens when you're saying, yes, I did that, or no, I didn't do it. Even though you're saying no, you're shaking your head yes, you're actually illustrating. We talked about illustrators. So that's your brain emphasizing specific words or phrases, like I did just then, specific words or phrases. Okay? And when that happens, let's say if it's going in a circle, that person may be confused. They may be wanting to say yes or no. They may be doing one of these, or it may be something that's cultural. Because when you're dealing with body language, first thing you got to decide is this body language I'm seeing, is this behavior something that's limbic or is it cultural, right? Read Joan Navarro's book. She talks about that all the time. So in a situation like that, it could be either one. You have to make a decision after a couple of minutes. You'll be able to figure it out. Are they from India? Where they go like this when they're saying yes, or they agree with something, so maybe they're trying to do that, but their head keeps going back and forth and up and down at the same time. So it looks like it's circular. A lot of different reasons to be doing that. Maybe they're confused and haven't decided yet, but they're trying to have inner dialogue going on. So as they're saying yes, so they're talking, they just may start circling their head. And that's fine. That's totally normal when you deal with somebody that does that. So don't worry about that. That's fine. All right. I wondered if you could explain a little bit about how you guys on the behavior panel set up your backgrounds and prompts and how you position yourselves in frame. Well, we're taking cues from Mark on that because he's the guy that knows how to do that the best. And when we first started, man, look at our backgrounds. They were horrible. I mean, Greg looked like he was in some kind of weird dungeon somewhere in a basement or something. And Chase had a bunch of these books behind him that were all color-coded. And I was sitting in a chair down in my office and had a couple of signs up there. It just looked weird. And Mark's hasn't changed from day one in the 4 years we've been doing the behavior panel. His have all looked the same. But when it comes to framing, like this is my iPhone. Usually I have a camera when I'm doing in the house, in my office. And I have like a background, like a little plant. My wife said, we need a plant back there. You need to do this, you need to do that. So for a lot of that, and I fought with her a lot about it, was my wife's doing. She wants to change it. So if it changes and it looks cooler, it's because of her. But my take on it was just, make it look like an office or something. So it represents what you are and who you are when you're doing that. So you want people to see that. So I have a book press back behind me, usually my dad gave me, and I have that plant there, I guess, to give it some greenery, make it look, lifelike or whatever. But it is important, don't get me wrong, but it's, we really don't think about it a whole lot. Mark does, I personally don't. But like here, I've just made sure I'm in the middle. I know you hear when people take pictures, they want to be on the side, and there's a thing about threes or something in there. I'm not a photographer, don't know anything about it. I'm not a cinematographer, don't know anything about that. So I just try to get lined up where I'm right in the middle, and where when I'm talking to you, you can see me talking to you. So I know it's a crappy answer. I'm not that good at that. As you can see, I'm out in the woods right now. Here comes the sun. Oh, look at that. I was wondering if the wardrobe choices of attorneys can and do influence the witnesses and jurors. They sure do. You don't want somebody coming in that's wearing a t-shirt and jeans to be your attorney, right? You want somebody that looks like $1 million attorney. You want somebody that looks the best they can possibly look. You want them in a suit or whatever it is that's the suit for that situation. If it's a woman, you got to wear whatever that is that women wear to be an attorney, to look like one, because you have to exude confidence and knowing what you're talking about. Can be no doubt, because you're affecting when the people in the jury look at you. I do a lot of work with attorneys to help pick juries, choose juries. And you don't really choose a jury. It's called voir dire. Some people call it voyeur dire because of the way it's spelled. It's voir dire. And that's one of the most important things that you can do. Like when I'm in court, I have to wear a suit and look like I know what I'm talking about, because they don't know who I am or what I'm doing there. The judge does. He has to know, or she has. But the other people, I have to see people sitting with you that look like what they're doing they're the person to be doing that, no matter what it is. Even though they don't know what you're doing, they're going to go, what's that person doing? And they should look like a professional. So you have to look like a pro when you're doing that. That's what attorneys do. They try to look as professional and confident as they possibly can. That's how you get that done, is by wearing a suit and paying attention to what you wear. Now, you don't want to wear brown, because I think it was IBM that did the studies where they found that the color brown, when you wear a suit that's brown, people don't trust you that much. It's the dark blue suit, or the black suit. So you want to do that. Dark clothes, not brown. Does a person's baseline body language change if they join a group? For example, the mob, a gang, a religious order, or a cult. These groups have standardized behaviors acceptable to the group. Well, yeah, you can take on the sort of the characteristics of that group. If you're supposed to act tough, you'll walk around acting tough, that kind of thing. If you're supposed to be quiet and mellow, if it's a cult, you're supposed to look like, this person's wonderful. You take on that submissive role. So yeah, but it won't really change your baseline, because once you get taken out of that, you get separated and somebody talks to you, you can relax a little bit. And try to keep that those behaviors and mannerisms in mind, up front, so you'll act that way, because you'll feel you're that way. But they don't last, for hours and hours. They'll go away after a while. We all know people who look just pissed off all the time, even when they aren't. With such an angry default expression, are there still telltale signs one can spot when the person is actually becoming angry? Yeah. If somebody looks, for example, if somebody just looks like all the time, their eyes are a little bit wide and they're looking at you, and that's their default face, if that's their resting face, then things will change if they get angry, because whatever that face is, you'll still see that tightening of the brow there a little bit, see that upper lip come up just a little bit, which will make a wrinkle in your eye in here just a little bit. You may see some teeth, that kind of thing. They may squint a little bit. Now, when people squint, when you say, look like you're angry or pretend you're angry, make an angry face. People make that, they'll squinch this up, the glabella right in there, and they'll squint their eyes and they'll look all mean, tighten their lips. But what you're looking for somebody who's really angry is when those eyes are squinted, they're still going to try to open wide. The lids will still try to open, even though they're squinting. That's what makes you look crazy. Okay? So keep that in mind. So you want to see not just squinted, but you want to see those eyes lifted up in there. You'll know when you see it. Do it in the mirror. Squint and then try to open your eyes without letting go of the squint. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. That's what you're looking for if you see that. Those lips coming together, like that little bit, maybe some clenching of the jaw, some movement right in here as they clench. So that'll let you know no matter what their expression is. If you see that, yeah, they're getting angry. They're getting angry. Hi, Scott. I have a question. I was hoping you could help me better understand myself. I had PTSD, and when I'm severely exhausted and overwhelmed, my speech changes. I talk like a cross between a toddler and a drunk. Where my sentences are chopped up and incomplete. I forget basic words and names of people close to me, and I may say a cuss word. When that's completely not me. I've heard y'all say on the behavior panel, when you're stressed, language is the first thing to go. So I'm wondering if that's the connection to why my speech changes. It can possibly be that. I'm not a PTSD specialist at all. I'm not any kind of mental health person. I can't help you with that. But if you have that much change when you're talking and you get upset, you might want to talk to a neurologist. There might be something else going on. I'm not trying to alarm you or anything. I'm just saying, look into that. Don't let that go if it gets that bad. Now, but then again, I don't know much about PTSD and how you fix that or anything. Okay. So, because I don't want to give you information that may not be good. It might not be good for you. So keep that in mind. But you might want to talk to a neurologist and say, here's what's happening when I get mad and all that. And they may run a couple of tests and say, oh, well, that's okay. That's normal. They may not run any tests at all and say, okay, that's totally normal. I'm not the guy to ask about that because I'm afraid I'll give you bad information. I can sit here and pretend I know about it. Oh, here's what you ought to do. Or I've Googled it, throw in the Google and go, okay, here's what you do. I'm not going to do that. I'd talk to a pro. So I do talk to a therapist, somebody like that. They'll be able to help you. They'll be able to work you through it, tell you what to do. Which actresses and actors do you think most consistently can give a good, convincing Duchenne smile? That's a good question. Because there are a few, but there aren't a whole lot of them. You look at, again, my favorites, Ed Norton, Billy Bob Thornton, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise. Those all look like real smiles to me. I don't watch a whole lot of movies, but I usually watch the movies those people do, and they're pretty good at that, because obviously when I see that, I look for, is that a real smile or fake? And it's as simple as it is to find out, those little intricacies we talked about in the last episode that you really got to look for to make sure you're seeing a real smile or a fake smile. So I do that. And those are the ones that, for me, look the most sincere, look the most genuine are those. When interrogating, which environment do you prefer, live or video evaluation? Are there limitations to either environment? Are there advantages to either environment? Ooh, that's a good question. I like it, the live version. I like doing it live. It's easy when you do it by video because you can rewind and stop and think about it and go back over and you can make sure that's what you're seeing frame by frame, But when it's live, it's almost like a sport because you're in there playing the game, talking to that person. They're there. If you see something you think has happened, you can ask a question, but see if you can make that happen again. Or if you're sure that's what happened, you know what question to ask next. I like it. I like the live version of that. Limitations are you do miss a lot of the small things. So you really have to focus and pay attention without looking like you're zeroing in on them and focusing and paying attention. That's the art of it, right? To get that done the right way. So I like it, the live part. The other question was, and are there advantages to either environment? Yeah. Again, when it comes to video, and film, you can just look at those. It's no problem. You can go back and forth as much as you want, but you don't get that buzz from being with that person. That's the part I like the best, I think. So, are press secretaries and defense attorneys failed psychopaths? Seems like it sometimes. If you watch the press secretaries or attorneys, it seems like it. Those people that go in just for scorched earth when it comes to attorneys. But no, I'm sure there are some, that are psychopaths, but, I don't think they're failed psychopaths. I don't know what a failed psychopath would be. Just somebody who wants to serial kill and just doesn't. I don't know. But I'm sure there are some. I don't know a failed psychopath would be.
No.
I think I understand what you're saying, though. I'm a banker and a guardsman. I'm preparing for an interview with a customer that we suspect has been committing fraud. I'm preparing for the interview. I've watched your show since grade school. I have a master's in accountancy with a focus in fraud. What books would you recommend that I read to prepare for the interview? Okay. There's a book by James Pyle called Find Out Anything from Anyone. That's the book you want. For what you're doing, that's what you want. Get that one. There are other body language books that are great that you can read and all that, and body language can help you. And if you've been watching my stuff since you were in grade school, you got a pretty good handle on what's happening up to this point, I would think. So get that book from James Pyle. That'll hook you up. I'll show you exactly how to approach asking questions. And you'll know when to ask a question, when to lay back. I'd get that book if I were you. That'd be the main one. That'd be the main one to get. Can dogs or animals smell psychopathy? No, they can't. It'd be great if they could. No, they can't do that. That'd be a good movie though if they could. What is the significance of someone faking that they are asleep while waiting for investigators to walk in the room and start asking questions? I've never heard of somebody faking that they're asleep, but I know they do go to sleep sometimes. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Because you probably can't believe somebody would be able to go to sleep if they're being questioned about something horrible like murder or something. So what usually happens is this. When you're being looked for, you're being chased, or you're worried about being caught, that's a lot of stress. That's a whole lot of stress. And when you get caught, what happens is this. You relax because it's over. Okay? You're like, they know this is all over now. I don't have this hanging over my head. Even though something horrible is going to happen to me, I don't have to worry about all this other stuff anymore. This person may have been on the run. They may have been just the stress from acting a certain way, trying to act innocent for so long, may have just gotten to them, and they just relax and go to sleep. A lot of times they'll do that in the police car. A buddy of mine, I can say his name, Jason, used to tell me about that. When they'd be taking somebody that's done something horrible, the person would just go to sleep in the back because they know it's over. And that's why they go to sleep. Is it possible to read body language without formal training? Yeah, you do it all the time. You know when somebody's mad, you know when somebody's happy. You get more than just the basics from not learning anything or reading anything outside of that. So you're born with a lot of that, being able to read body language and understand what's happening. And the big things you're not born with, you learn those as you get older, as you grow up. So yeah, it's totally possible, but that's why we have courses like body language tactics, so you can learn the details you're looking for, all the little stuff, all the things. In these situations, what if I see this? What does that mean? Those kind of things. But the basics, yeah, no problem with that as a human, being on Earth. You sit there and go, what's that person? You can tell if they're mad, if they're scared, those kind of things. You know what those are. So yeah, you can understand body language without having to know the intricacies of it. You can get a really good grip on the basics. Which of the stories you covered on the behavior panel is your favorite, and which is the hardest to get through? Which was the hardest to get through? My favorite one was the one where Greg and I went and talked to Don Wells. His daughter is missing, and a lot of people think he did it. He didn't do it. And I felt confident about that once Greg and I got finished talking to him. And then we talked to him on Dr. Phil's show. And if you watch that episode, or watch on the behavior panel, if you watch that episode, you'll see why. And because that was another thing we talked about earlier about a live interrogation, or just watching one on video. That was live. So it wasn't an interrogation. It was more of an interview. Same thing in a lot of cases. But it was in a way in that case. We were just gathering information. But that's probably my favorite. The ones I don't like, the ones I hate, every one of them, when it deals with a little child getting hurt or missing, don't like those. We don't do the gory stuff about little kids or anything like that. We won't do that. I just don't like the ones where the child is being kidnapped or is missing, that kind of thing. I don't like those. What's the most recent scenario in which you have thought to yourself, wow, that person's behavior is so cool. Please explain why as well. I know where it was. In Oak Ridge, Tennessee, I've never been there when I haven't gone to Billy's Timeout Deli. Okay? I've been going there since I was a little kid. We used to go there in high school and eat lunch every day, right? And they have the best cheeseburgers in the world, hands down, no questions asked. That's where they are. If you want to know, Billy's Timeout Deli in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Go there, get the cheeseburger with everything, and you're done. That's it. You'll be making a trek back there every year. So every time I'm in Oak Ridge, I go get one every time, right? So I'm in there. I just ordered my cheeseburger with everything and fried mushrooms to go, right? And there's a woman and a man and a little kid sitting at one of the little tables there as I'm standing there waiting. And I didn't like the way this guy was talking to this woman. And there's a couple other people didn't like it either. And she said, you just go ahead and leave. Just leave us alone. He said, no, you can't make me. And before I could say anything, this guy, who's about as big as one of these big trees back here, you can't see there's some giant trees. This guy stood up and said, I can make you. And the guy looked up at him. And I thought that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And the guy got up and left. Didn't say, okay, didn't say, no, you can't, nothing. Just looked at that guy and got up and left. So I thought that was cool. Why do coworkers who are trying to get their way on Zoom calls talk with one hand raised? Mostly females. It looks kind of like Trump's pinch gesture. It seems like they're trying to say, it's my turn to talk. Yeah, it could be one of those situations where they're thinking, or where they're saying, I got something to tell you. Here's what's happened. So they may raise their hand if they're not talking already, if that's what you're talking about. Okay. Trump's pinch thing is when he's making a specific thing. He's getting really detailed on something. That's why I can't imitate him, but yeah, that's why he does that, because he gets, he's talking about something really, he's pinpointing, in other words, something really specific. So if that person has their hands up, they may be used to that as they're talking, so nobody else jumps in. So that's normal, that's fine, even though it is Zoom, but that's their way of doing that, and they do it normally. So you're probably seeing when they're relaxed, you're seeing part of their baseline when they're doing that. So it's not a bad thing, I wouldn't think. Many executives, especially from Western countries, put their one hand in a pocket while they're on stage for a presentation or a speech, and they're mostly male. Can you give a name for this male-featured behavior or posture? Some people do that, if your whole hand is in your pocket, when you show your thumbs, and your thumbs are showing, that lets everyone know you have confidence. Well, that's what the person is confident. So when a person is speaking and their thumbs go away, if they're on a table and their thumbs they don't hide and do that, but you can't see their thumbs very well, that denotes that person isn't as confident as you might think they are when they're talking. They may be, and that just may be a little quirk of theirs to hide their thumbs. But when you put a hand in a pocket, maybe they think that makes them look relaxed. Maybe that's an adapter for them. Maybe it helps them relax. Maybe they feel better doing that, So nothing bad about that. I try not to do that when I'm doing it. I know a couple people who do, and they look fine doing it. They look like they're just telling you something. So that might be their ploy, just to put their hand in the pocket and look like they're just talking about something, But I don't know. I don't do that. That's probably what it is. Do you think women feel a stronger interest in true crime because they feel the need to understand the threat more and be more equipped to deal with SA and threats through power and knowledge, support and understanding? I think women like solving problems. Like I said before, their brains take in a lot more information, a lot more detailed information than men's brains do. And I think when they watch true crime, one of the things they want to do is learn. I think they want to learn about what's happened. That's why body language is so big on YouTube. They want to find out they want to know what they're seeing, right? Guys see stuff and they, like I said before, we think we know everything, but women get more detailed. So they want to understand what they're seeing. That's another great, just as I'm thinking of it, that's another great example of how they take in more information. They're taking in so much, they want to understand it better than men do, I think. So I think that there's a lot of things that come with that. People have different reasons for wanting to get into watching true crime stuff. I don't watch a whole lot of true crime, even though a lot of the stuff I deal with is, true crime. Even here talking about true crime stuff and on the behavior panel, shoot, that's a lot of what we do, But I think they find it interesting because it's a puzzle. It's in real life. And they probably can't believe somebody would do something like that. And a lot of it is done to women, so like what I need to watch out for. So yeah, you can be right. It can be from a safety issue with them. You want to know what's going to happen. But some people just like solving the puzzle. Can you believe that happened? No, I can't really watch what else. That's probably it. I think it's probably a combination of all that. I think you nailed it. You got that one done. All right. If you have any questions about body language, you watch that video right there. If you have any questions about body language, just email them to me. bodylanguagequestions@gmail.com, and I'll get right on it.